How to read and write a pedigree. A pedigree is a graph-like image that shows the lineage of a family, typically humans, and it oftentimes reflects a specific trait within that family. These often mirror family trees. We're going to be using Angelina Jolie's family as an example. Angelina Jolie is a female, so she's represented by a circle, and in this case our trait of interest is BRCA1, and she is a carrier, so she is halfway filled in. She has a brother who is not affected, and since he's a male, he'll be a square connected by brackets. Her parents, her dad specifically, will be like her brother, a square that's open, as he is not affected, and a male. Her mother was a carrier, so will look like her, a half-filled-in circle. Her mother is deceased, so she has a line slashed through her. Now let's look closer at Angelina's immediate family, as she has quite a few people that make it interesting to draw a pedigree for. First, Angelina was married to a male who we do not know if he's a carrier or not, so he is a square with a question mark inside of it. Then they adopted a male who will be a square with brackets around him. Because he is not biological, you don't usually put question marks. Then, Angelina and the male got divorced, which is represented by 2 slashes. Next, she started dating Brad Pitt, so they're connected by a dotted line. Then they had 4 sets of children. First, they adopted a male, so he will be a square with brackets around him. Then they adopted a female, so she will be a circle with brackets around her. Then they had a biological daughter, so it's a circle with no brackets, and we don't know if she's affected, so she is a question mark. Then she had identical twins, which is represented by the 2 lines diverging from the same point. One is a circle and one is a square, as she had 1 male and 1 female, and they are both question marks. Then she married Brad Pitt, so the line becomes solid, and she divorced him. So they get 2 slashes as well. Now we will be moving on to how to label a pedigree. The generations are labeled by Roman numerals, starting with 1 at the top and moving down progressively. Then, across each generation, from left to right, they are labeled by Arabic numerals, and typically the oldest in the generation is on the left. This allows for less confusion when discussing which specific member you're talking about, especially when you can have confusion with words like dad and grandfather, which can apply to multiple generations. So if someone were to ask you if individual Roman numeral 2, Arabic numeral 3 was affected, you could easily find that person and see that they are a carrier for whatever trait of interest you're looking at. Now some additional symbols. For people who are related and end up getting married, you draw 2 solid lines through them. For people who are fully affected by a specific trait, you color them in entirely. For people who are affected by a trait that is autosomal, they are half filled in. And for people affected by a trait that is X-linked or Y-linked, you give them a dot. So you have affected, carrier of X-linked, and carrier of autosomal. If a couple is pregnant, you draw a dotted diamond with a P in the middle. If you don't know the sex of the child, you draw just a diamond. For identical twins, it's similar to fraternal, where they're diverging, but there's a line that connects them in the middle. If a couple has a miscarriage, it's represented by a diamond with a small line at the bottom. If a couple has no children, it's represented by a truncated line. For just the number of kids that a couple has, you just put the sex and then number. Now we'll move on to reading a pedigree. In this case, the genetic counselor or somebody similar will have developed a pedigree for this family. In this case, it is the person 3-2 that wants to know, and generally they will be indicated by an arrow pointing to them, and this is because it can be important when handling sensitive information to know who exactly wants to know what's happening and who would rather not know this information. which is why they're indicated as the proband by an arrow. Then, to further look at this, you will examine people and indicate on the pedigree who you've examined. For examined females, you put a dot above them, and for examined males, like 2-2, you put a cross above them. Then it is found they're affected, so you can complete the pedigree. And that's the end. Now you know how to read and write a pedigree.